First up is Daniel Carson, and Daniel is the founder of Alps to Ocean Foods, a Māori-owned agribusiness pioneering sustainable beef production in Aotearoa. Daniel's driven by a vision to reshape the red meat sector. Alps to Ocean delivers high-value brands and manufactured foods for export, starting with the all-natural Mīti beef bites. And many of you might have seen Daniel on LinkedIn, shirtless, just before Christmas, I might add. And I was just saying to Daniel, I was standing over there, confession, the first time in probably 10 years, I slept through my alarm and didn't have breakfast. And I was standing over there going, I could just do with a meaty bite. So I'm glad that Daniel has a few to pass around. But over to you, Daniel.
Well, kia ora. My name's Daniel, and thank you, Nikki. I actually first spoke to Nikki and Tracy about 3 years ago, right at the very start of this journey. Told them this ambitious idea, and we're just slowly making baby steps as we get closer and closer. There's some packets here of Mīti. I'm keen for them to just start getting passed around the room, just so everyone can sort of see what it's all about. But I'll get into it. So this is the product. Now I'll go into a bit about why we've created this product, but actually what the science and the values are actually behind what this is. This is just a demonstration use case of a low carbon protein ingredient and how we go about actually creating systems change in the red meat industry for lower methane beef. Okay, so some of you may know that as far as New Zealand dairy production goes, there's a huge amount of calves born every year, and those calves are not wanted by the meat industry. So they're a byproduct of dairy production. So at the moment, 1.8 million plus, those numbers are probably pretty conservative, are slaughtered at 4 days of age every year in New Zealand. Now this is an issue that's going to create social license to operate problems for our dairy industry, potentially mean that our buyers of product won't pay as much, because this is something that New Zealand does at scale that the rest of the world does not. So the rest of the world combined has 1.2 million bobby calves. New Zealand has 2 million. Australia is the next biggest country to New Zealand with bobby calf, and that is 400,000. So we're a massive outlier in this place, and the dairy industry and the meat industry are aware that this is something that needs to be addressed, but it's how do we do it? Okay, so the systems change is all about, well, what is the value for these animals? So, everyone asking for emissions reductions in beef production are actually the buyers, not of muscle cuts for table steaks, but of a lean manufacturing ingredient for use in their own added value foods. Now, those foods are obviously things like your McDonald's burgers. Nestle makes a whole lot of consumer packaged goods products that might use beef protein in it. And so the opportunity, I think, for New Zealand at scale is to use these animals in a slightly different way and use them what they're perfectly suited for genetics-wise, and that is lean protein. So for that use case, you don't need intramuscular fat. It's not about a table steak. It's about just a grass-fed, high, fast growth, low emissions manufacturing ingredient with attributes around animal welfare, clean green New Zealand, regenerative, whatever you want to put around it, okay? So can we help these companies achieve these targets with these animals? Well, I think the answer is yes, and that's where the BPA came in. Okay, so there's a lot of issues around this. Obviously, efficient processing of these smaller animals, and I'll get to the BPA science as to what we're trying to achieve with these younger animals. So we're not killing them at 4 days of age. We plan to grow them to 10 to 18 months of age and essentially create a lamb equivalent of beef. Okay, so lamb exists for grass production, and we want them off farm when the grass stops growing. The winter's no good for our pastoral-based production systems. It's very expensive, there's environmental issues, there's animal welfare issues. So can we create a system that eliminates the need for that? So efficient processing of these smaller carcasses is an issue. We obviously need to add value and obviously build a story around what that is, and branded food products are a great way to do that. There's a whole lot of agri-tech coming which is going to really help tell the story from a supply chain data perspective, provenance, verifiable animal welfare standards, emission standards, etc. Things like robotic calf feeders, your halter collars, that type of thing. And there's an opportunity to actually change farming systems where farmers benefit more than they are maybe at the moment. Because at the moment, costs are going up, and the ones that are bearing the majority of those costs are the producers of these products. Okay? So, this has been a long time coming. There were a few projects that we were very fortunate enough to be funded by the Māori agribusiness team at MPI that even got us to this point, and that was around some of the meat characteristics of these animals, around the full processing, so some of that efficient processing technology where we're no longer focusing on muscle cuts, we're focusing on whole of carcass into essentially one manufacturing beef SKU. But where we really needed to add value was prove out what the carbon footprint benefits are of this system, but then also prove what the health and nutrition and human consumption benefits of eating the product were for the end user. And this is where the BPA came in and helped us with the funding for this. It's been a really awesome product, a process, and what this funding did is it actually helped get all of these industry players around the table. Without that funding, this collaboration wouldn't have happened. So that was probably the most important thing for us, is that saying that there's a funder that's going to provide the majority of the money for this. We only need a smaller cash contribution that would have otherwise been required, and then we can put all this data out there. So we're able to put all these big players together in order to do this project. Now, as you can see, we've got New Zealand's biggest pastoral farmer, we've got obviously New Zealand's biggest company, we've got SPCA, meat processors, etc., etc. So it was a really well supported project by industry, and this was our shared vision. So to validate the production metrics, the efficient processing, and environmental sustainability claims of young dairy beef, which are non-replacement calves, and establishing science-based health claims for Mīti as a demonstration case for the added value potential of young dairy beef as an ingredient in a scalable, sustainable, and efficient manufacturing beef supply and processing value chain. So a lot of words there, but that's essentially what it was around. So it was around making a scalable ingredient supply chain, thinking of beef in terms of a manufacturing ingredient for others to use in their added value foods, and things that we could actually be manufacturing on shore using other innovative New Zealand ingredients, including what we use in our product, which is honey as a preservative, but also for its functional energy properties as well. And this is essentially what we set out to do. So, has it worked? Well, we released our carbon science last year. It showed that this production system was 50% lower methane per kilo of beef produced than traditional beef production in New Zealand, which is already almost half what the global average is anyway. So we're talking about a massive reduction in emissions, and there's 2 million of these animals. So if we scale that, that goes a long way to helping New Zealand achieve its emissions reduction goals for the red meat industry. And it also gives us a unique product that no other country could replicate at scale. A grass-fed, lean protein manufacturing ingredient that also happens to have the world's lowest carbon leather and also has the world's lowest carbon co-products as well. And taking this approach means that we can essentially process the entire thing into one single SKU, so just one product to sell, and that's a lean manufacturing ingredient. And in this case, it's like a 93CL, which is only 7% fat, 93% chemical lean protein. And that's what your McDonald's, your big purchasers of manufacturing beef want. They don't want to pay for fat, they want to mix their own fats and their own flavours into products. So we got a lot of media attention out of that science as well. And obviously that was good for us, good for the BPA, and good for all our industry partners. So why we've created Mīti as a demonstration use case. The growing global demand for convenience protein is massive, and it's growing. New Zealand doesn't really play in this space at all. Can you think of a single red meat snack from New Zealand that's unique? We've got biltong, we've got some jerky, but it's essentially a copy of another country's product. It's replicated here. I thought there was an opportunity to create something unique to New Zealand that used a protein as a base, but also allowed us to use functional ingredients from the rest of New Zealand's agricultural industries as functional ingredients as well. So we've used honey, we've used kanuka, liquid smoke, but there's a whole lot of interesting things we can do around fruits, just as functional ingredients and the attributes we actually want to promote within a product and the health claims around that. So the other part of what the BPA has funded is the health science. So we've got gut microbiome impact testing underway at the moment and neurotransmitter impact testing. So essentially we're going to prove that an all-natural product that's also low carbon does have functional health properties, and this is an area where no other snack plays, especially from a meats perspective, okay? And it also plays into what I think are New Zealand's strengths and what the world thinks of New Zealand as it is already. So essentially this is what existing products are, and these are just examples of what we can do or do variations of, whether it's a protein bar, whether it's a jerky style product, whether it's whatever it might be, okay? There's only 9 natural ingredients in Mīti. Everything is minimally processed, and everything in there has a functional health attribute. There's no filler, so it's supposed to be good for you, and we're going to have the science to prove that very shortly. And it's obviously a product as unique as Aotearoa. The honey we use is honeydew honey from the Black Beech Forest of the Southern Alps. Again, a product that's probably considered a bit of a not sure what to use it for product, but it's perfect as an ingredient. It doesn't have any pollen, it's a very unique process, and it's a beautiful product as well. So essentially this is what we are. It's high protein, nutrient dense, no nitrates, no preservatives, everything in it, as I say, is good for you. And because we use honey, it's got energy in it, but it also means it's lower in salt or lower in sodium. Now this is the size of the opportunity. So obviously the global market size is massive depending on which category you look at, and Mīti has the potential to potentially create products that could play in each of these. And we also have the potential to create new functional attributes based on the ingredients that can deliver into all of these types of markets as well. And I think this is a massive opportunity for New Zealand to bring a lot of manufacturing onshore and export those attributes to the world, add value for farmers, add value for industry, and do a lot of good work in that space. So essentially our first product, this is our sort of target market. The other thing we've also discovered is that children love it, which is really good because if you think about the children's lunchbox market globally and you think about protein, very minimal choices. We're talking dairy proteins and we're talking nuts, and they're banned now everywhere as well. So there's a massive opportunity in this space too. So that's a bit of the story. Hopefully I'm on time. You happy with that? Yeah. So yeah, if you want to scan the QR code and follow us along, we've got a few new SKUs coming out. We're going to be doing sensory trials of the new flavour variations at Field Days. And there's a lot of really exciting things coming up. Our nutrition science should be out early May. And that's going to be all the gut health, gut microbiome stuff as well. So we'll be the world's lowest carbon meat snack with proven human health benefits as well. Cool. Thank you.